Awesome. So Brittany and I were talking about how director is the first milestone in the Unicity compensation plan of different ranks. Like it's a super pivotal rank for your business and for, right, as you grow, helping other people get to director. But there's a lot of question marks of like, so what actually is that? Like, what is the director rank? And so me and Brittany are like, well, let's just jump in the room and grab a quick video to do with an explainer on what is director, what should you be doing to get there. But Brittany, you got a really good way of like capturing that. And so when you think about what director is, just lay that out for us.
Yeah, because I think there's two things to think about. It's like, what does it look like numbers wise? And then also, how do I get there? So hopefully we'll cover both of those things. I like to think about it that director is 50, 30, 10. And when I say those numbers, I'm meaning that many feel great sets. So if you think 50, 30, 10, the 10 is a 10 pack, right? That's a new partner. So one part of that is going to come from a new partner. And then the 30, I like to think about one person who wants to get qualified for the method, right? Because if they get to 30, qualify for the method, that covers your whole 30 leg that you need. And then the third one is 50. That's all of your sales and anyone else on your team's sales combined will go towards that 50. So that's the simple way that I've worked it out in my mind, but I know there's lots of ways to go.
I think it helps to be able to look at that visually and understand some of the mechanics about like how that works, especially that idea of, hey, everything else groups together.
Yeah.
And so something that's very advantageous about the Unicity compensation plan is the way we calculate what we call your legs. So every rank requires 3 legs once you get to director and above. So all the serious ranks, you got to have 3 legs that are developing. But the way we count these legs is we say, okay, let's look at Brittany's organization and then ask ourselves, what's the biggest leg, right? Which of her partners has the most volume underneath them? And then we'll slap that on and say, okay, that's leg 1. That's the biggest. And then we'll say, okay, who's next biggest? Who's next biggest? Who can we pull apart and say, okay, well, now this person is the next biggest leg. So that's leg 2. But for leg 3, we no longer are calculating which one's the biggest. We say, okay, now it's just everything else. Brittany might have 50 legs. She actually has way more than that because every one of your members, your Fieldgray members, counts as their own leg. And, right, your other partners who are not quite as big as those first 2, all of that lumps together into that 3rd leg. And so in that example that Brittany has laid out, she said, okay, let's look at the 50, 30, 10. The 10 was one partner with a 10 pack. That's 1,000 PV, and that fulfills the requirement necessary for that leg of 1,000 points in that leg. And so, okay, there we go. That's one partner with a 10 pack. The other one was someone trying to get to the method. And so this may be someone who they bought their 10 pack at the beginning of January. And then they're like, I really want to get at that method. And so I got to get to 30 points. I've got 10 for my own Fieldgray packs that I'm going to be handing out.
I'm a third of the way there.
I'm a third of the way there. And so I can either find 2 more people to do what I did. All right. Hey, which 2 of my friends do I want to build this with? And I want to get in front of Brittany so that she can explain to them what she explained to me and get them excited too. And let's say I sign them each up. They each get a 10 pack. I'm going. And hey, I might be like, hey, you guys want to go too, right? If there's still time, I'm going to be pushing them to duplicate that. But maybe what happens is one of those friends says no. And so I end up with now another person with a 10 pack, but I'm still 10 short. And so I'm going out and working with Brittany to start making videos. I'm sending messages because I'm saying I want to sell my 10 pack, but I also want to get 10 more customers. And from that, if we had 10, right, Fieldgray customers here, we look at this whole leg and we say, okay, now that's 3,000 points or 30 Fieldgray sets. And I've got that second requirement. And now is where it gets interesting because now it's like, okay, we've got these 2 done. But if we're looking at the 50, there's so many variations. Like it's like kind of unlimited and we don't want to try and cover them all. But this could be as straightforward as Brittany had a viral video. And so she got 50 Fieldgray customers all frontline to her. Or maybe it's Brittany's really working on building her team, and she went out and got 5 more partners, all with a 10 patch. Or, right, she has one partner that came in December and has been working super hard to get her 2 friends to the method. And so all of these different things can play out. But at the end of the day, what you need to have in this, right, leg, whether it's spread out over a whole bunch and summed up, or whether it's all down, right, 5,000 points because this one person drove a leg, is I need to have that structure of, as you look in the comp plan, and I'm just going to stand up now, but, wow.
Yeah, and can I just interject that in that 5,000 point leg, I mean, this could happen in any of the 3 legs, okay? But I love that that could also be your customers who referred people. You're going to get credit for referrals. Maybe you haven't been telling your customers what happens when they refer people. And if you can make a big deal about that, you get a bunch of referrals, it's a win-win. It's going to strengthen that compressed leg. That's another way to look at it. I mean, as Sam said, it's really unlimited how you can get to that, but you want to be thinking in those separate groups rather than everything just as your collective business.
Yeah, and the good news in it is, hey, I don't need to get super technical about how I'm getting to the 5, 50, 30, and 10, right? As we said, there's so many different ways that happen, and it's the same actions that I'm going to be taking that's going to produce this. Right. And so I don't need to be worried about, oh, am I getting enough member referrals or not? Am I getting all the partners I want right now or not? Am I getting as many customers as I want? It's like, if I'm taking the right actions day in, day out, then I'm going to produce this and it's going to be duplicating. But like, if you were going to talk to Brittany, someone, and you said, okay, I've got 2 people or 10 people in this starting this month of February that says, hey, I want to finish this month director.
Yeah.
It might be their first month in the business. It might be their 7th month in the business. But like, this is a month I want to hit director. And what's the advice you're going to give them? Is like, hey, here's how you are to be spending your time to build that up.
Well, I think you ask yourself a question of, do I want to do these one at a time, or do I want to make this a little easier on myself and try to get 10 at a time, right? So most people think, I'll just get a bunch of customers. I'll try to convince this many 50 customers to buy through my link. And you can totally do that. That absolutely works. But it would be much easier to get 5 people, right, to say yes. And so my real recommendation, to anybody is do both. So invite your face off. Invite people to take a look at the business. Invite people to take a look at this product. That's probably the most important thing you could do. If you're doing that and you still have time, then go generate some new leads. What I mean by that is go try to find people who don't know about you to find out about you so that you can make an invite. But you really need to be able to make those invites first and foremost. Most people do the opposite. They think, well, I'm going to go just generate a bunch of leads and then I'll invite those leads. Well, you're not going to be very good at invite because you haven't practiced it all. So you might as well get practicing the invite now. But also, it's a slow way to grow because if you have to wait for the leads to pile up before you can even really get going in this business, that could take a long time. We don't really have ultimate control over how fast or slow that goes. So you do have a lot of control over how many people you invite. So I would recommend that if you have very limited time, that you spend your time making invites. And I would, if it's extremely limited, then you're mostly just inviting people to take a look at the business. And then the second thing you could do is invite to look at the product. And then the third thing, if you have time, is generate new leads. And ideally, you do all 3. Would you add anything to that?
No, I mean, those are exactly where you want to be spending your time. And it's just like leverage your upline in this.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, hey, all of us, every single person listening to this video or watching it has a circle of influence. Yeah. And in that circle of influence, right, you look at your phone contacts, not all those people are people you want on your team or would be good, but 5 to 10% of them are.
Yeah.
And so right off the bat, you can start inviting and getting those people in front of your upline so they can look at this business, consider what this is and see if they want to do it. And you're going to start getting these partners. And at that point, right, if you're looking at this just straightforward, you might think, okay, I've got now one partner and I've got a 2. And if I get 3 more, I've got that 50. Yeah. But an even healthier way to look at it is like, hey, let me help that one person do what I just did. Right? Let's open now their circle of influence and help them get inviting.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, right, I mean, I really hope that by the end of this year, here in the US and in Canada, we will have the expectation that like your first full 30 days in the business, of your first full month, I guess, you're going to be a director. Because like you look at the Korean market, and that's the expectation. It's like, oh, if you're serious about doing this, of course you'd be director in your first full month.
Really?
You know, if you signed up on the 25th of the month, maybe it's going to take you right the next month. Yeah. But if you're signing up on the 3rd of the month, like you're going to be director this month.
Yeah, and I just...
So we're just going to get to work inviting.
The inviting is huge, and how you can help your team, if you have a team, is you can sit down with them and go over their lists and help them figure out what the right invite is for the people they want to talk to, right? Like they need to tell you who this person is, what they're about, and what their concerns are, and you're going to be able to help them figure out what the best message is. And there's a way to do this. I mean, we've already figured out what works with this, and so you don't really need to reinvent the wheel.
Not at all.
You can just do what we know works. Now, if you're sitting here thinking, yeah, no, I for sure am not going to invite partners or not invite people to even look at the business at this point. I just can tell you right now, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do it. I'll just do nothing before I do that. Invite people to come to the science call. Invite people to try the product, obviously, right? Straight on, but also to those science calls, because what I can tell you is that invitation gives them great exposure to how much people are winning with this product and how effective it is. It also gives them a really good glimpse into what we're doing with this business and what a movement this is and the magnitude of what we're a part of. And if somebody is a potential partner, them seeing that is going to appeal to the right person, right? So again, that's under the invite category though, right?
Yeah. It all starts with the invite, and it's suitable because that's the one that I have most control over.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. And when you start inviting, if you're not finding that you're getting the answer that you're hoping for, that's first of all to be expected and a part of this. But you can also try to refine your approach and the tone of your voice and your delivery and all of the cadence and all of those things. And that's, again, where it can be really helpful to work with somebody who has done more of this. And I feel like right now, at this current moment, and I can reserve the right to change my opinion about this, but right now, what's most effective for me oftentimes is a voice memo.
Yeah.
Because I'm able to re-record it 8 times if I need to. I can get it right, so it sounds the way I want it to sound, and it has the impact I want it to have. And I get to let them hear my voice so it doesn't feel so cookie cutter like a text can sometimes feel, like a copy and paste. It feels more personalized.
Yeah, they know you did a copy and paste that and just change the name.
Yes, they know that. And then it also has the impact of, I'm not going to catch you when you're in the middle of doing the dishes or juggling something. It's not a good time. You're going to listen to this when you have a minute. And I'm going to send that voice memo, and then I'm going to follow up with the text that says, hey, I just sent you a voice memo. Listen when you have a minute and let me know what you think.
Yep.
Create a little curiosity and also let them know it's there, because sometimes people miss those. So, and it also gives them a chance if somehow it didn't go through to go, it didn't come through. I don't know what you're talking about, right? But I have found that that's a really effective invite for both the product and the business, and works well for somebody who's nervous to screw it up if they get on the phone live.
Yes. And the last thing I want to say just on this note of the director is kind of give some context as to why this rank is so pivotal and why it's the rank where you start to earn trips.
Yeah. Good.
Right? Like this is, if you want to start going on incentive trips, success trips, the cruise, or whatever is coming up in the future, you're going to have to at least be at director rank.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because that is the first rank where you cannot reach it unless you're helping other people win in the business.
Yeah.
Executive manager right before it, I could get it by getting 30 customers and 1 new partner. But if that new partner never does anything, I never get past executive manager, even if I've got 10,000 customers.
Yeah.
Right. And 100,000 OB or whatever it is. Like I could still be executive manager if I'm not helping someone else get wins.
Yeah.
And so we reserve our trips. Like these are the extra we do, right? This is where, okay, we have found people we want to invest in. We want to show them how appreciative we are and get time with them to help build them up. And so if you're someone that's now helping other people win, you've told us, okay, this is someone that we want to invest in. Apart from all of the commissions we pay, we want to spend more to really, because this person can become a diamond.
Yeah. And when you go on those trips, you feel like you're being taken really good care of.
I hope so.
You don't want to, once you go on the trip, you don't want to not go on the trip. And they do that strategically, I'm sure.
Very much so.
Because when you go, you think, do I deserve this? Have I earned this? And you have, right? You've done the work and you've proven that you're going to step into not just the lead generating role, but the leadership role. And that's what is going to be required of you to really have success with this. And so you got to start.
Yeah. And so I hope that this video, this clip helps people kind of break down some of the mysticism behind the director rank.
Yeah.
Be able to look at it and say like, okay, yeah, so that's what this is. It could happen in a weekend, right? Maybe it takes a month. Maybe it takes me 2 or 3 months. I will say the faster you run at it, the easier it is.
Yeah.
It's a really weird thing about our business, but all right, when you're sprinting, things come together. You're like, oh, I want to organically get to the director. That's usually the people who never do get there.
I want to actually lean into that a tiny bit more, because think about it. If you're just driving down the road and someone is sprinting, you're driving, but they're sprinting. You kind of can't help but notice. It grabs your attention. If they're running, a lot of people are running.
Yeah. And if they're walking, you don't even notice.
No.
It pays out.
No. And so if you're sprinting, people are going to notice. And you're going to find some momentum with this, and you're going to attract people. And you're so actively inviting and looking that you are bound to win.
Definitely. And yeah, maybe we cut this, because now I want to share this other thing. And the video is getting much longer than we anticipated.
Yes.
But when Stuart back in the day was working the business, right, and he'd stay in his office all day in his pajamas, and all his kids thought he didn't actually have a job. He'd just hang out. But what he'd be doing is they'd get to work on the phones in the morning, start calling prospects. And as soon as they got someone signed up, they'd start building their business, right? That person signed up at 10 a.m. and they said, all right, who's the most ambitious person you know? Who's the most connected person you know? Who's the person that is most unsatisfied with the current situation? Like, let's start getting these people on the phones. And so they start calling with that person their network. And as soon as that person got one of those people to sign up, they'd then do the same thing with them. And their goal would be to drive down, right, that leg as deep as it can until they hit a dead end. And then they'll come up and like, all right, so who else was it that you said you knew? All right, that we should call. And their goal is to build a director in a day.
Oh, wow.
And so by the end of that day, right, it was like, it's a crazy day. But this person now had seen the presentation or heard it over the phone, right? Because they didn't have Zoom back then. They heard over the phone a dozen times. They were totally locked in because, like, I have now made several $1,000s today and been validated in this. And the fact that, yeah, I thought it sounded good when I did it. So I said yes. But now all these other people I know said yes when they saw the same thing. Like, I'm super validated in my decision and I'm ready to run at it. So I just share that as a way to, like, really break down, like, okay, here's what's possible.
Yeah.
All right. And I hope none of us come out of this clip thinking, all right, director's my goal for 3 months from now. But instead we're looking at like, hey, I want to be on that cruise or that next trip. Let's get to work. I'm either director this month, or if, right, you're watching this and it's the 23rd of the month. Hey, let me start working the business right now, start laying the seeds so that next month I'm off to the races, sprinting at that director.
Yeah. Love it. Okay.
All right. Well, we hope it's helpful.
Yeah. Perfect.